Okay. So to kick things off, welcome Candy. Thank you for taking time to be with us today. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, your professional background, and the journey to starting early learning matters.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. So I started as an elementary education teacher. So I have my master's degree in teaching, and I taught in public for about 5 years. I think I taught kindergarten and fifth and sixth grade. And it was great, but I just because of life and needs with my children and personal life, I decided that I would resign from teaching and needed more flexibility with my schedule and decided not to go back to public school. So I did start Early Learning Matters at that time. And it's been about 20 years now that I've been managing and running the school. So
Cool. Candy, can you please give us a brief overview and kind of the importance of early childhood education in childhood development specifically?
yeah, I mean, it's incredibly important, the early years for a lot of reasons. I think the thing that I'm most passionate about is providing a safe space for kids, a place that is playful and joyful, because so much of their worldview and the way that they operate with friends and family and make decisions and you know, classroom management stuff or like how they approach school and learning and all of that is just so dependent upon their their nervous system. And so creating a safe space for them that where they're excited to come to school, excited to learn, um, they feel like they can be themselves and be creative and explore, free to explore. Like that to me is really key to developing healthy adults.
Please describe a typical day at Early Learning Matters. Discuss the hands-on activities, the curriculum development, and any interactions with the children and the families.
Yeah, so our school is a little different than some of the others in the area, and I think that's important to recognize too that there are a lot of different options. I never was interested in having a daycare facility. It's just not education is my background, and I'm super interested in the social emotional part of that. And I also am a business owner and an entrepreneur, so I've been able to combine those things in starting Early Learning Matters. But we're not a daycare. So, my school doesn't, we don't open at 7 and close at 6 or whatever. For me to fit it within my lifestyle, I wanted something that worked with my kids who are now grown. But when they were in school, I wanted to be able to be home with them when they were home. So we have a niche market. It's families who, don't necessarily need daycare, but want that school environment for their kids. So our preschoolers are here for 3 hours, pre-K 3 hours, and then our kindergartners are here for 4 hours, 5 days a week. But it's all half time. So we have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning class, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoon class, a Tuesday, Thursday morning class, and then we have the 5 day option as well. So we've also expanded and now we're offering birthday parties. So we have a creative play space in that the kids use every day, but that too is just another example of kind of the entrepreneur in me that I have this space and it's beautiful and it's designed specifically for kids. And so we've taken that space that's been created for 3 to 7 year olds, and now we're offering birthday parties for 3 to 7 year olds on the evenings and weekends. So I don't know if
Cool.
that answered your question, but
Yeah.
yeah, teachers generally, my teachers are here from let's see, they get in about the earliest arrive at 7:45. Class starts at 8 for that class, and then the other teachers come at 8:15. Everybody's home by 3, or at least gone by 3. And then on Tuesday, Thursday, it's closer to 1. We're out of here. So it is a part-time situation for the teachers. I'd say about 30 hours a week. So um, yeah.
Cool. Can you talk a little bit about like the curriculum and how that focuses with the early childhood development, especially for like the difference with the preschool and then with like the kindergarteners?
Yeah. The curriculum really it's just an extension, I think, of myself. I hate to say that, but it's like it's such a personal business. And for me, I'm here most every day, and I care about what happens here. And I've never found like a methodology or something that I'm so bought into that I would want to just marry to that and only do that. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years, and it's a compilation of a lot of different methodologies. So we draw from a lot of Montessori methods, Reggio things, but just tried and true, you know, good basic child development practices. But I also have spent a lot of time over the years researching brain development and nervous system and a lot, social, emotional, and safety and all that stuff. So our curriculum is really a compilation of just all that stuff. So, um, we have music and art and block play, a lot of STEM opportunities for kids. We explicitly teach leadership skills through the 7 habits, um, and, focus a lot on like friendship skills. What does that look like? What does that sound like? But also emotion coaching, what are the different emotions? How do you read that in other people? So there's a lot. But it's not a canned, it's not a canned curriculum. We are aligned with the public schools, so all of our pre-K classrooms are actually receiving a full kindergarten curriculum per se, but we don't necessarily expect them to master that. They're just exposed to all of those concepts. But yeah, it's just presented in very playful, play-based manner.
Yeah, those skills are definitely important to
Yeah.
learn and understand at that age where their brains are so critically growing and as they're being exposed to new things. What are some key skills and personal qualities kind of needed to go into early childhood education for, any students that are looking to go into some career paths within this?
Yeah. I would say you've got to be passionate about it. You've got to really truly care. It's not necessarily a field where, right out of school you're going to make a great income per se. But there are a lot of opportunities for to get creative and to do things within early childhood. Where you can create a good income for yourself. I think so. Passion has to be there because if you're doing it just, for the money, that's obviously the wrong career. Um, but I would say flexibility is another thing that's really key. Being able to pivot when you need to pivot and understanding that these little people are who they are, and you never know what you're going to get each day,
Mhm.
which I personally really enjoy because I like to work in a place where it's ever changing and you just each day presents itself as something different. um yeah, so I'd say flexibility, passion, and creativity, being able to see the big picture. Patience is big. You got to have a lot of patience. It's not always a pretty job. I'm the owner and the executive director, but I still help kids in the bathroom if they need help. I mean, if there's a cleanup, I'll help clean up, throw up. It's like, so you got to be willing to like just, you know, do what's needed in the moment. And it's all part of the experience, and I enjoy all of it.
Awesome. And I know you kind of touched on like your educational background to go into this, but can you talk a little bit about the different like if training, certifications, and education requirements that are requirements for aspiring early childhood education professionals?
Yeah, I'm some of my employees have degrees in early childhood. My degree is not specifically early childhood. I have a master's degree in education, and I was a certified teacher K through 8. Um, so to be honest, I don't really know because I've 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 operated my own business for so many years that I've been pretty focused on, on my own little world here, and we're not a licensed facility. We don't have to be because we only do half day, and we don't take children under the age of 3 years old. We don't, they have to be potty trained. So I am able to operate very independently. That being said, I am registered with the state and, all of that. The standards are high, but I don't really know so much for early childhood per se. My teachers, I don't require that they have a degree in early childhood to teach here. I don't think that I've hired teachers with master's degrees and they have not been a good fit. And I've hired other people who, just have the right personality and the right passion and dedication and commitment and energy and fit with the team. So I don't think there's really like I don't have one answer for that.
Gotcha. And what are some opportunities for students, if there are any, coming out of high school? I know the HSD and I think Beaverton school districts as well, they have early childhood education pathway where they have preschools at the high schools. I know Liberty and I believe it's Hill High who have those. And so the
Yeah.
students are hands-on working with the students in their preschool. So are there any opportunities for them once they're graduating from high school if college might necessarily not be the route that they want to take right out of high school? Are there opportunities within that for them where they can get a job within early education out of high school?
Oh, definitely. I think so. We do I mean, I would love to have interns here. We do have one gal who she volunteers once a week at least, and she's 16 and she's amazing. Um, but I do hope to partner and have interns here, but yeah, I think there is a lot of opportunities for within my particular business. We're not hiring right now. It doesn't mean that we won't be in the future. And like I said, I don't really have a pulse on who else is hiring, but I see people hiring all the time for assistant teachers. And it's, all of my teachers, including my director, she started as an assistant teacher. She's now the director at Early Learning Matters, but she started as an assistant teacher. She went to lead teacher. She became curriculum specialist, and now she's the director, and she's fantastic. But even within a small little school like mine, there is opportunity for growth, and not being afraid to just get in there and get started and get planted somewhere. And yeah, I don't think I answered your question, but.
You're good. Karen asked, what is the difference between a licensed and non-licensed facility?
Yeah, so you have to be licensed by the state of Oregon if you are serving children under the age of 3 years old. and if your program is over 4 hours per day. So if a child is in at school over 4 hours per day, then you need to be licensed, licensed as a child care. So even if you're, we've never been childcare. We've always just been straight preschool and kindergarten. And so, if we were to say offer a preschool classroom for a full day or a kindergarten classroom for a full day, because of the age of our students, we would need to be licensed as a childcare facility, which just has different, governance. I mean, then it just like we would have to have an outdoor playground. We don't have an outdoor playground. We've got an indoor 2,000 square foot play space. We have a little outdoor space, but just, the requirements change. Um, I've never been interested necessarily in being a licensed facility because, like I said, our niche is kind of serves those families that don't necessarily need full-time daycare, but they're looking for a place for their kids to learn and go to school. Um, so yeah, does that answer the question?
She said yes. And then
Okay. Yeah.
another question is with the kindergarteners, do they with the curriculum meet like the I guess like the Oregon education requirements that are like for them to move up to like first grade opposed to being like at in elementary school?
Yeah, so we definitely align with this. So we align with NAEYC, National Association for the Education of Young Children, as well as the state of Oregon for kindergarten standards and Hillsborough School District. So we make sure that our curriculum that we're covering basically everything, all the core concepts that they're covering within those different things. But the state of Oregon does not require kindergarten. As far as I know, they haven't required that. So um, a child can like start in first grade without having on. I would never recommend that because I think kids need preschool and I think they definitely need kindergarten. It's really, really important. But our kids, they get a report card. They move in, nobody questions, they go on to first grade.
Hmm.
And they're very well prepared for first grade, but it's not, you don't have to be, I, I don't know. I know that,
I was not aware of that. So
uh,
didn't grow up in Oregon. So I mean, where I grew up, it was you went to kindergarten within the elementary. It wasn't just start at first grade. So I didn't know that about Hillsborough School District
well,
or
yeah,
Oregon.
I
So
think, I mean, fact check me on that
mhm.
because that could have changed.
Yeah.
But as far as like, having paperwork and a child, you can go to an elementary school and enroll in
Hmm.
first grade without having kindergarten. I never would recommend that, but
Right.
there's a lot of private schools that offer
Hmm.
kindergarten. Some families like prefer to homeschool for kindergarten
Hmm.
and just give their kids that additional year.
Sure. Yeah.
But our kids, they receive the full kindergarten curriculum. They're extremely ready and
Hmm.
even more so than I think some other schools because our
Hmm.
ratio is 1 to 9 versus like the 1 to 20,
Right.
25 that you might
Hmm.
have in a traditional setting. So they get a lot of individual attention.
Hmm.
In addition to a lot of our kids have been in preschool, so they've been with us for, 3 years by the time they're in kindergarten. And, you compare that to a child who maybe they haven't been exposed to preschool at all or any sort of early childhood education, and then starting kindergarten in a classroom where there's 20 some kids and one teacher.
Yeah.
It's just a slower start. It takes longer to get to know the kids and to really help them progress.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's amazing. Karen said she did check in kindergarten is not required in Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting because I did not know that.
Yeah.
So cool. So going on to moving on to kind of like the challenges and rewards of working in early childhood education, please share some challenges that are unique to the field. Examples of maybe managing behavior with engaging with like different types of families.
I would say the behavior, just in education in general.
Hmm.
Classroom management is absolutely the most difficult element, I think. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I don't know, I did my master's program a long time ago, so I don't know today how much they're emphasizing classroom management. We did a little bit about in classroom management, but it was more so focused on curriculum and, how to teach math, how to teach science, how to, and you can have all of that dialed in and have a classroom full of kids that are not attending at all for various reasons. Um, I personally think that any education program needs to focus heavily on the nervous system, and understanding the nervous system and respecting the nervous system of each individual student and child, because if they are not in a safe place, if they are not feeling safe within their body, they are not going to learn. And you're going to see all different kinds of acting out and just they're trying to regulate themselves. They're trying to normalize, but it looks like misbehavior to us. And I think we can quickly jump to the conclusion that kids are choosing to be, naughty or choosing to misbehave. And they're actually just trying to regulate their nervous system. So um, I forgot what your question was. You said, what was the question?
Sharing unique like challenges in the
Oh,
field of working in early childhood education.
yeah, so that's a challenge. I think for anybody who's going into education, especially early childhood education, I would definitely look at that. Um, Also, just for me personally, I had a harder time. I'm very independent. I'm also equally as a business owner. Like I love the entrepreneurial part of my business. So for me, creating new programs and designing things and um, starting things is a big part of what I do each day. So if I was in a situation where I didn't have a lot of freedom and control over my day to day, I think I would struggle. But that's my personality. So for me, I've been able to work with kids who I adore working with kids, and I'm passionate about it, but also have that element of flexibility and creativity and not having a ceiling over myself. Um, I could see that as being a challenge in some settings.
Amazing. And how about some of the like rewarding aspects, such as seeing like the children learn and grow?
Yeah, I mean it's just the kids here are they're always so happy to see me. I just walk through and it's like I'm a celebrity. They're they're always waving and um yeah, it's just such a positive, enjoyable place to be. And the kids and it's just a good culture. And I think the a big part of my role being the executive director and being the owner of the school is really working with the staff and with my director. And so we operate as a family. I mean, we're just super collaborative and work together and support each other and encourage each other. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't still be doing it 20 years later if I didn't love it. And parents are amazing too. I really enjoy working with the parents as well.
Have you ever had any challenges with parents and families or
Oh,
anything like that?
nanny. Yeah. Yeah, but for the most part, I think all parents are doing the best that they know how to do. And they're trying, so I mean, you encounter challenging personalities at times, but you do in any field of work, you're going to encounter, challenging personalities. So I think, one thing that that we share as educators and teachers is that we both parents and us, we want what's best for the kids. And so if you can kind of find that common ground and focus there, you can work through any of the other things that come up. So for the most part, our families are amazing. They're super supportive of what we're doing. They love us. They love the teachers. They feel confident sending their kids to school. We do a lot of family nights, so we try to build a lot of community, and that's really helpful too. Just having parents feel like they belong and they're heard and they're a part of things. So for the most part, no, I mean it's pretty rare that we have like anything major. But over the years, collectively, I could tell you some stories for sure.
Yeah. Cool, thank you. Um, do you have any tips or advice for those that are considering a career in early childhood education, including any like educational resources or practical advice?
I would say to just make sure that you're spending time. I think a lot of times when for myself and other young people as they're looking at career paths, it's easy to kind of look at it on paper and think about, the pros and cons and stuff, but everybody's personality is just so different and strengths are so different that really you've got to spend time in the field to make sure that it's something that you really love. So my advice would be to find an internship or like the gal who volunteers with us weekly. I mean, she shows up and she's doing everything. Like she's working with kids, she's cleaning, she's setting things up, she's come to our parent night, she's interacting with parents, and she's 16 years old and she's loving it. And so I think that would be the most important thing, I think, is just get in there and make sure you love it and enjoy it.
Wonderful. Well, I will open it up for questions from students
Okay.
or anyone on my team that may have questions for you,
Okay.
to be able to ask those. So, students, if you have any questions, please type them in the group chat and they will get asked.
I have a question while we wait for the students. Can you talk about like what is the student teacher ratio at your school at early learning?
Yeah, so our the preschool, we try to keep it at 1 to 7. So we have 14 kids in there with two teachers. The ratio officially is 1 to 8. So if it's a really like, you know, there are groups of kids that are just they function really well together. It feels good, and we think, okay, we can add a child or two and still have a really good dynamic. But that's kind of how we operate. So the pre-K we do 1 to 8. The state of Oregon, it's 1 to 10. So you're able to have, yeah, 1 to 10 is the ratio for preschool and for pre-K, I believe. And I've never operated at 1 to 10. It's always felt a little bit chaotic to me. And the way that we structure our program, it's a lot of independent, like encouraging kids to make choices and to do a lot of choosing. It's not like everybody's doing the same thing at the same time, which is sometimes how you have to control those large numbers. We want them to have freedom to explore and move around and make decisions and make mistakes and all of that. And I feel like those lower numbers are really helpful for us just to have a peaceful, calm environment.
Yeah, I would think that a 1 to 10 ratio, especially with pre-K, is is seems like pretty high. Like that's
Yeah,
a lot of littles and a lot of energies and oftentimes emotions. And so
yeah.
having hearing you say that you have a 1 to 7 ratio seems as a parent much more conducive to like a place where I would see my children thriving at.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, like, I mean, it doesn't sound like it's that big of a difference, but when you have two teachers and you're thinking of a classroom and you're thinking of 20 kids in the classroom versus 14 to 16, it's a big difference. And, the other reality is that, um, all kids are not like operating within that ratio necessarily. You might have one or two kids that require all of a teacher's attention.
Mhm.
And so, you have one teacher who's focused on certain kids or whatever, and you have the other teacher with all the other children. And so you just never know what's going to happen in terms of, there's a potty accident or, somebody's crying or there's separation anxiety, and suddenly your ratio is not, it's not 1 to 10 anymore. It's 1 to 20
Mhm.
or 19
Right. Yeah.
or 19 to 1, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So, what type of ongoing education do you do for yourself? And then, secondly, what type of ongoing education do you offer or provide to your staff?
Yeah. We do every year we do a staff development day, just like, like in public school. So we just had our staff development day in October for our staff. And I was presenting on that day about the nervous system, actually. So we do a lot of like classes through Northwest Regional, or not Northwest Regional, sorry, NAUIC, different organizations that focus on early childhood. We've had like different artists come in and do things. When the Children's Museum was open, we did a lot of the trainings there that were really great. So myself personally, I'm really like I'm a lifelong learner. I'm constantly taking classes. I'm taking a course right now to get a certification that is really it's a health and wellness certification, but it again it's focused on the nervous system and so I'm constantly learning, and it's just, I think if you're going to be successful in education, you've got to be somebody who is wanting to challenge yourself constantly and learn new things. Otherwise, you're in the wrong field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell a little bit more about the seven habits? Because I don't think I'm familiar with that, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure how much anybody else is on here knows about that.
Yeah, so we got started with that. My stepmom was working with Franklin Covey,
Mhm.
and Franklin Covey is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Stephen Covey. He wrote The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, and it's a book that's been around for years and years and been published in many different languages, and it's taught in different churches and educational settings, business settings. But we were the first the first preschool actually to do the Leader in Me program. So Franklin Covey launched a Seven Habits of Highly Effective Kids program that they were doing in elementary schools. And I think, just because my mom was so involved and high up in corporate, in Franklin Covey, they gave me the opportunity to do the training
Oh,
and
nice.
to have my staff trained, and we became the first preschool to do the program. They haven't necessarily kept up with honoring it for preschools because it's an expensive program. Um, and it's hard to afford it as a preschool. And so it's more targeted towards elementary school, middle school, high school. But the concepts are the same. I mean, they're just universal principles. We teach kids about being proactive. That's, I'm in charge of myself. And I'm the leader of me. We do work on a lot of like communication skills, think win-win. sharpen the saw. That's like taking care of your body, your mind, your spirit, and your soul, those things. So it's a really great program for us specifically because we're not a religious school. Um, and we have families from all different cultures and all different ethnicities, from all over the world who speak different languages. But it's a universal program that everybody can agree on because it's just basic principles. So yeah, it's been great for us. It's not the only
Wonderful.
thing that we do, but it does provide a common language
Mhm.
for, between parents and teachers and the kids, where everybody's kind of speaking that same language.
That's amazing. There is a question from Chloe, and Chloe asked, does your facility take any kids with special needs? And have you worked with kids on the spectrum? Is there any advice or ways of teaching that you would recommend?
Yeah, so yes, we will take any children, anybody who is the right fit for our program. And the right fit really is if they are able to follow the routine of the classroom, and that's even if it's with support, and able to exist within that ratio. So because we are a private school and we don't have like outside support necessarily, we do work closely with Northwest Regional ESD and have people come in who are working with our kids. But we ourselves don't have on staff like extra hands. Our kids have to be able to be successful within that ratio. So we've had a lot of kids on the spectrum, a lot of kids who've been diagnosed ADHD or have speech and language challenges and are working with therapists. It really just depends on what their individual needs are, whether or not we can meet them. Um, I personally have worked a lot. I also have done one-on-one work with children with special needs, and my own son, who's now an adult living in Paris and teaching, he's on the spectrum. And so I personally have a lot of experience working with kids on the spectrum. And yeah, it doesn't present a challenge at all. They're just, unique individuals and come with their sets of strengths and challenges, just like everybody else.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. I do have a question. Since you mentioned you are a private, are you a tuition-based school?
Yes, so it is a tuition. We have an annual tuition. So our families, they pay a deposit and then 10 payments. So we follow a traditional school year. It's September through the first week in June, and then we have a summer program. So our summer program is billed separately.
I had a question. I know that you said you've worked in this industry for about 20 years. And I know that you've probably seen, the different generations of kids kind of coming through your system. And I wanted to ask kind of if you've kind of tailored your new curriculum towards this new generation coming in, because I know that like technology and stuff has really evolved over the years. And I know some of these students might start um, being with these kids. So I didn't know if you had any different kind of way to interact with those kids.
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, well, I've been in education for closer to, well, it's been like 26 years. Personally, I don't think that um, we don't rely heavily on technology here. I mean, when we say technology, it depends on what you're talking about, because technology can be a pencil or something, a tool that we use. And we use a lot of technology in that regard. But kids today have a ton of screen time already. And so I don't feel like at preschool, pre-K, kindergarten that they need more screen time. They're going to get that at home, and a lot of our families are their parents are engineers. We have a lot of Intel families. The kids are really exposed to a lot of different high tech opportunities, and so it's not really an emphasis for us. Um, that being said, you know, it's not so much the technology itself, it's the foundational skills to just keep up with the ever-changing environment. And that comes through play, like just allowing children to play, to create, to do lots of STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, you know, getting their hands dirty, creating things, solving problems, um, regulating themselves. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but I think that the principles are the same. I don't think that they've drastically changed over the years.
Great, thank you.
I'm not sure if I answered you or not. I hope so.
Oh, that was good. Like, like you said, kind of the basic
I'm, I'm
things are kind of the
rambling.
same. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, it has been interesting with COVID was rough, you know, obviously it was tough for everybody, but it was certainly challenging here because you know, we were able to stay open because we luckily had connections within the community and were able to get the PPP loan and that sort of thing. But that was really challenging trying to do online school with 3-year-olds for those couple months. And then you know, our numbers were really low and just managing through that time. But we're definitely seeing the result of the kids who are COVID kids who have been home and maybe not exposed to as many social opportunities as some other kids. So there is that.
Great, yeah.
Are
Thank you.
there any, like you mentioned with the COVID kids and kind of them growing up or being home in those with those ages, are there any developmental delays that you can kind of see the difference with that generation of these preschoolers and then going into kindergarteners of like not having, the social interactions and the learning that typically comes with those ages?
Yeah. I think my teachers would probably answer that they definitely see that socially the kids are a little bit um behind at times. But then again, I think that um we might be just our environment in and of itself because we're a private pay, you know, private school. A lot of our families, they didn't, even though, you know, kids were home, maybe not in those group settings like preschool and maybe they were more cautious with keeping them a little bit limited there. They still were doing things. So I think there's probably a lot of kids who didn't have opportunities to go and do things even in a safe way that were more impacted than our children. Um, I think it depends on you know the socioeconomic environment and the what the kids have access to. Our kids have access to a lot of things, and that's why I feel like the technology and stuff is just not an important thing to focus on because they've got I mean they're traveling, they're doing things, they're going to the museum, they're going to the zoo. So school is school.
Do you ever do like any type of like field trips for the students? Like I know you mentioned like any museum trips or to the zoo where they get to kind of leave for a day and go learn or explore things.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, we don't transport kids, so it's just the liability of transporting kids is not something that I want to take on. And and so we've never done that. We do have like field trips where their family will meet at the pumpkin patch, and we do it at a time that's outside of school time, so all of the families meet up. We did that this year already. Um, with our summer program, we were studying the zoo, and so every other Friday, the kids and families and teachers had the option to meet up at the zoo. We do family nights where, different like businesses within the community that are focused on kids or, game nights, theater. We're doing like a karaoke night, just different fun things where families come to us in the evening. We did something where the families went and did rock climbing at the new rock climbing gym here in Hillsboro. But yeah, so lots of community building, lots of getting out there and doing things within our own facility outside of school time, but not so much your traditional field trip.
Cool, thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So Oregon, not unlike many other states around, or yeah, other states around the country, there is a significant shortage of available preschool programs, and space for families, working families, to put their kids in that does offer all day or flexible schedules. For people who work different shifts, and that is affordable.
Yeah.
What do you see yourself like looking at in the future, trying to expand your program to help meet these needs? We know that low wages and high turnover rates within this industry are a contributing factor. So yeah, what is your responsiveness to kind of what is this big shortage we're having?
That's a really good question and a hard question. I recently spoke to another director who was experiencing some challenges with filling their some of their spaces based on that based on the some of the things that have come down with like free childcare and stuff. So for us specifically, I think that we've just been in business for so long, and it's based on word of mouth. And again, it doesn't fit the needs of every family. We've been okay. I personally, as a business owner, don't feel like I need to meet everybody's needs. And I know that there's a shortage in early childhood education. I personally can't solve that problem. And I don't try to. And that's just maintaining good, healthy boundaries for myself. My emphasis is on the environment that we have here at Early Learning Matters, and making sure that that the teachers feel safe and the kids and families feel safe here. I've never wanted to be at a school that was like an elitist school. I know I could raise my prices and charge more. I could do that, and but I would then create a dynamic where there were only kids here who were from, wealthy families. And I don't want that kind of environment. I want to make sure that we're diverse in that way. And so I've tried to maintain a very, fair tuition. And when people look at our tuition, honestly, they usually are surprised with the fact that it's not as high as they think it's going to be. But there's a lot of factors. There are early childhood programs in churches. In churches, you might pay less, which is attractive to a lot of families to be able to have, less tuition. But you have to keep in mind that that program will be supplemented by the church. So they're not paying, rent like I'm paying rent and utilities and wages and all that stuff. So there's also different tax advantages, with the 503c organization. So yeah, there's a lot of factors involved. I guess the short answer is I can only do what I can do and take care of myself and the things that are within the scope of my control. And that's where I focus my attention.
And you said that the majority of the families that you have is from word of mouth. Do you do any marketing or any outreach in helping to attract new families? Because
Yeah.
when a pre-K, when a preschool, we only have them for like maybe 3 years, so you got to
Yes.
have that in new
Yeah.
incoming.
Yeah. So we have a lot of, I mean, a lot of our, we have a lot like, I mean, it might be 10 years with the family because they've got siblings that are going through our program. And so our families tend to have a pretty long staying power. Um, I do marketing, but and in the beginning, I did a lot more marketing. I mean, when I started the business, I remember walking around passing out flyers in neighborhoods and I would set up at all the Tuesday market and different things and um, just really like grassroots kind of marketing stuff. Over the years, I haven't had to do as much of that because we do just get those referrals. Um, with the birthday parties, that's a new part of our business that's also serving early childhood. I have hired somebody to help me with the marketing for that because it's a brand new service and we're known for being a school, but we're not known for having birthday parties. And so that's like this whole new this whole new thing. So yeah, I am hiring somebody to do some work on the website, some SEO stuff, some signage, help me with the social media aspects of that. But yeah,
And so, like with the 16-year-old who you have um, working there with you, the opportunities for high school students, I know we talked a little bit about it earlier, but for those who are interested with school schedules that don't get out until like 3:30 in the afternoon, for students who might be interested in wanting to come help out with birthday parties or other ways to start to get their foot into the door,
yeah.
what's available for them?
I mean, we are open to, I mean, I would just say anybody who's interested in spending time, just reach out to me directly or to Sarah, our director. Um, I think right now we wouldn't be bringing in anybody necessarily for the parties because it's a brand new service and myself, I'm still working the parties along with the teacher who's facilitating parties because we're kind of learning the ropes and then we'll be hiring and bringing in staff to do the parties. And then certainly we would love to have additional hands, but right now we're not just there, we're not there yet. But for the school, I don't know, a lot of high schoolers, I think maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's opportunities within your day where you might have a couple of hours that you don't have classes or some flexibility in the schedule. I'd certainly love to have you. And in the summer, there's opportunities in the summer as well. So we do a 7-week summer program, Monday through Thursday, July and August. And we'd love to have students here.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any last questions? Any students? I'll give you a moment if you want to type any last questions for Candy in the chat. Now is the time to do so.
And I'm actually going to put the link to your website in the chat. So for students who want to take a look at your website and your contact information is in there, then they can do that really easily.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, I'm happy just if anybody wants to just come and take a tour and walk through and see the classrooms and see our creative play space, you're welcome to just reach out to me and I'm happy to just give you a little tour. Or if you want to come and observe, that's another thing, you don't necessarily have to know that you want to volunteer or go through that process, but just that you are curious and you want to come and spend some time. I'd be open to that as well.
Cool.
Wonderful.
Looks like Chloe
Yeah.
has asked, what's been the biggest struggle with opening your own facility?
Oh, well, I started so small. I mean, when I started, we started in a little house on Main Street with just 12 kids. And so now we have over 100 kids. Um, I think the biggest hurdle for people is thinking that owning a business is for other people and not for them. Like I think it's just a difference of you do or you don't. Um, so, you know, it, it, I think it's hard when people look at business owners and look at businesses after they're 20 years in, you think, oh, how on earth would I do that? Well, you don't do it all at once. You start small and you build. And that's what we've done. I mean, every single year we have grown and when you are a person who constantly wants to improve yourself and learn and grow, then your business naturally grows. And it's just an extension of that. So I think the biggest challenge is just getting over the fear and
Cool.
getting out there and doing it.
Mm-hmm. That reminded me of one last question. Since your business has grown significantly, would you ever consider opening, like in the future, opening a second location somewhere and broadening
Yeah,
early learning matters?
so I've been asked many, many times to like expand and have an elementary school, or if we would grow and include additional age groups, or I've thought about franchising. I've thought about, and I could absolutely franchise. I could do that. I've thought about opening other locations. Um, I think that definitely would have been something that I would have done if money was my primary objective, or at least, you know, one of the main objectives. But I am so like it's my baby, and I care so much about the school. I think it would be really hard for me to separate myself and to see the quality go down and not be able to be there. So yeah, I think it's not for everybody. It just wasn't for me to do that. I'm totally content with what I have right now.
Amazing. Yeah, I totally get that. Well,
Yeah,
Candy, this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your insights and your valuable time and information that you
you're
shared with us
welcome.
today. Students take advantage of, the opportunity to maybe go and check out Early Learning Matters, volunteer in the summer. We linked the website for you, which you can get the information and go check it out. If you hang on for one last time, I'm gonna share my screen so that we can wrap this up. I'm
All
gonna
right,
end.
thanks you guys.
Thank you. So students, please submit your evaluation. This provides us feedback on how you enjoyed today's event, as well as provides attendance that we share with the schools so that you also get credit for coming today that counts towards your graduation credit. So I will leave that up on the screen for a moment so you all have time to scan it. And if for some reason you don't get the evaluation, you can always visit your college and career office at your schools or email your STCs, your school to career college person, and they will be able to share the evaluation code with you as well. We have an upcoming Curly, which is the FBI Career Spotlight on December 4th. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can scan to sign up or go to Group Trail or register in your college and career office. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll stop sharing.